gentlemen, my name is Scott Mantz. What did you think of Blaze? Give it up to the director of ArcLight, Ethan Hawke. Give it up for yourselves. This is the ArcLight in Hollywood. This is the center of the universe.
I totally agree.
Best place in the world. Okay, so from the point that you got the idea to make Blaze Foley into a movie to the point that you premiered it in January in Park City and Sundance, how long was that period of time?
You know, it was the fastest I'd ever experienced the creation of something happen. It was really, there's a strange thing that happens. Sometimes in life, the universe is constantly telling you no, like no, doors are not opening, no, do not go here. And in this project, it was New Year's Eve 2015 to 16 that I drunkenly watched Ben Dickey play the guitar and play clay pigeons and think. I watched in the kind of firelight his red beard. He's from Arkansas, he's 6'5", Blaze was 6'4". They're both, and I was like, you should play Blaze Foley in a movie. And the drunker I got, the more I thought that was an amazing idea. But I didn't know the story. I knew the music and I knew Ben. And I knew Ben was magic. You know, Ben, he'd never acted before, right? But I knew that was a good idea. I knew it in my heart it was a good idea that he had, but I didn't know the story. And so my wife and I went down to Austin to kind of pick up the synth. And we met Lewis Black, who is, he started Austin Chronicle, he started South by Southwest Film Festival, and he had covered Blazing Towns' shows in the day. And I said to him, hey man, what's the story? You know, if I want to make a movie about Blaze Foley, what's the movie? And he said, have you ever read his wife's book? And I was like, that dude has a wife? No way. And he said, well, kinda, read her book. And she has this memoir, Living in the Woods in a Tree, her name is Sybil Rosen. And the whole thing launched in my brain. And it just started to happen. And Ben, who had already agreed to act in the movie, totally thinking I was kidding and was never going to get around to doing this, I had to call him up that summer and say, you know, I think this might happen. And then late in the summer, I was like, hey, listen, man, I got to see you. And we met face to face, and I was like, look, if I really did this, would you do it? Because through my meetings with Sybil, I'd come to feel this was a movie really worth making. And he was like, sure. And we jumped down the rabbit hole.
So when you start wrapping your head around the idea of making a movie about Blaze Foley, you sort of go in one direction, then you find out, well, she's got a wife, and she wrote a book. And then you work with her on the film. You write the screenplay with her. How did that change your original idea of what you wanted the movie to be?
Well, I don't know. I know that what hit me about her relationship to Blaze was joy. And I think that I discovered it when I read about falling in love in the treehouse and the way that their love affair worked, juxtaposed with his murder.
Yeah.
It seemed profound. And we'd seen the stuff of a country western opera. You know, like, how do you get from this beatific, blissful place, this Eden-like place, to this darkness? And that's a journey that seemed very interesting, and it seemed to beg for a movie.
Yeah.
And I felt like the one thing that, normally if you're seeing a biopic, right, you're seeing a biopic of a famous artist, so you already know all the songs. I mean, music and movies love each other. But if you're seeing, it doesn't matter whether it's Chet Baker or Ray Charles or Johnny Cash or Billie Holiday, that's just what the list goes on and on. It's music you already know. So you're just watching a kind of reheated meal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Whereas if the joy of experiencing a new musical is it's new music. And I realized, wait, if I told Blaze's story with Blaze's music, I'm basically delivering for 95% of the audience music that is original, that has already stood the test of time. Now that's a unique, that's rare.
Sure.
I mean, if you do a Hank Williams biopic, everybody already knows, well, they didn't do the music. It's the Doors. I love the Doors, right? But it's still not Jim Morrison, right? It's, you know, so this was different.
You know, like you actually brought up a really good point there. So, you know, you have like the Doors, you know, you have all this footage of Jim Morrison for someone like Val Kilmer when he did that movie, the Oliver Stone movie. But there's not a whole lot of video of Blaze Foley. And they have Ben, who's never acted before, played a real life character, a musician, and then meets Sybil. So what kind of advice did she give him about playing Blaze?
Well, that's complicated because Ben is extremely sensitive. He's a serious person, and he's aware immediately of the shame that one can feel in standing in the place of someone else. It doesn't matter who it is. Every human being has their own integrity and their own aliveness, right? And she kind of gave him permission to make art, that he's not replacing or standing in the shadow of Blaze. He's singing Blaze's songs, and that is value, and Blaze wants and needs that. He can't do it for himself anymore. And that was very beautiful. I think, I don't know, it's a complicated, soda's driving me crazy. I think, I don't know, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, when Sybil sees the finished movie, in all of its various cuts, I mean, did she, like, embrace Ben's take on it, or was she, like, I mean, what was
Just
her
so
reaction?
different. See, Sybil is an artist. She was never confused about what real life is and what art is. Her relationship with Blaze is special and sacred to her, and she was making art about it. And I mean, she really, if it were up to her, you would have just sat through a 4-hour film. I mean, that is for total sure. She didn't want that scene cut, she didn't want that scene cut, she didn't want that scene cut. But she is an artist, and she understands the idea of telling a story. And she understands the idea of, you know, the Hemingway line about sometimes you have to write a whole page to have one sentence. And the same is true of making a movie. Sometimes if you cut the right 30 minutes, but you leave the right minute, you, the audience, can feel the other. You intuit the iceberg under the part that's showing above the water.
The chemistry that Ben has with a lot of people in this film. First and foremost, Ali Shawkat, who's terrific. I mean, isn't she great in this movie? I mean, she's wonderful. How did that sort of like, they got to know each other a little bit, or?
I think that's where I was going when I lost my train of thought, is that Ben had these ideas about what it was like to act, but what he didn't understand is there's a kind of shamanistic thing that can happen in acting at its best. And it doesn't happen by yourself. It happens with another person. And his relationship to Alia, on their first day of shooting, I remember, it's ironically kind of the poster shot of the movie. They're on the back of the bus. It's that whole thing of I don't want to be a legend. Yeah. That was I don't want to be a star, I want to be a legend. That was the first day of shooting, and I had kind of tricked Ben because he'd gotten so nervous. He's one of the most confident people I've ever met. He's a Southern boy. He doesn't, he's an ex-athlete. I mean, pressure's a choice, man. You know, he's so zen, he's so easygoing, he smokes too much pot, you know. And he found himself totally, when you feel the pressure of making a movie, when you feel 50 or 60 people dedicating their life and leaving their kids and you know, trying to make a movie, I all of a sudden realized that this pressure was accumulating on his shoulders really heavy. He's very sensitive and he wants to do right by people. And so I told him that we were going to do a test and we're going to go out in this pickup truck. And literally, that pickup truck, we were at a coffee spot, and I said in this coffee shop, I said, whose brown Ford is that out there? It was not under mine. hey man, you like country music? It's like, yeah, I do. So you know who Blaze Foley is? He's like, no. I'm like, all right. Can I play some Blaze Foley music? He's like, sure. I said, can I borrow your truck for a little while? And he let us borrow the truck, and we took it out, and I put Ben in. I was just pretending to do a test. And I said, let's do it. And see, that's what I was going to say. Ben, the beautiful thing about beginner's mind, this happened like with my daughter. You take a kid out to practice archery or something, and they go like, and the first time they hit a bullseye. They start thinking about it, they can't do it. But Ben is such an artist. He's a musician, and he loves people, and he studied music his whole life. It was just a little bit of the dial. But he was a normal actor would have taken things for granted. He spent months, he learned every one of Blaze's songs. He wrote Sybil a letter every day. He took the responsibility of playing Blaze so seriously that it was almost like an incantation, and this shamanistic process. And so there he is. He knew all the lines. He'd been studying the script for months. And we said, let's do that whole thing on the back. It was a scene that was supposed to be somewhere else. I said, let's set it in the back of the truck. Okay. And we did it. And what happened is what I wanted to happen is at first he was worried about what he was doing. And then he was just worried about whether Alia liked him.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what you want, right? You want to not be thinking about what you're saying. He wanted to impress her. Well, that's what his character wants to do.
Very sure.
Right? He's just talking to impress her. It's some shit any guy makes up to be cool. Right? and then you're not trying to be Blaze Foley. You're trying to win Alia's affection.
It's genuine. It's all.
It's genuine, and you feel it. The camera feels that.
Absolutely.
You made first of all, Born to Be Blue, Chet Baker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. An amazing performance. How did making that film sort of help you make some decisions about the way you were going to make Blaze?
Well, it affected me hugely. For those of you that don't know, I played Chet Baker in a movie, and I impaled myself on that part. But one of the things that happened is that I took about 6 to 9 months to try to learn the trumpet. And man, it's hard. and I told my trumpet teacher, I said, I think I want to push back shooting because I'm just not good enough yet. He goes, you going to push it back 9 years? I said, because you're about 9 years away from being interested in the trumpet. And I was like, wow, okay. So no. And I had this thought. I thought, if I ever directed a movie about a musician, what I would do is cast musicians. And because there's something sacred in the relationship that a person like Chet Baker has with their trumpet. It's for lack of a better word, a holy relationship. It's the best side of themselves. And Charlie Sexton, who plays Townes Van Zandt in the movie you just saw, is a world-class guitarist. Yeah, he's amazing. And he has something to say to you about music. Whether you hear it or not, I don't know, but he's not giving you a posture or a pose of a musician. He's lived a life on the road. He knows he has something to say about music. And I could tell him, I could say, I want you to play, Townes' Marie? Yeah. Let's do it all in one take. I'm going to push in on you in one take. Okay. You want to rehearse? If you do. It's awesome, right? I mean, he's been playing that song since he's 13 years old. No problem, man. So the camera feeds on that. It's real. And so I was able to put I'm not saying, what do I know? But I know that the music in the movie is authentic.
Yeah, sure.
It's recorded live. You feel it. There's no posturing or posing about the music. Ben and Charlie play music. They play it for real.
Well, I've seen the movie a few times now over the last 9 months. It's not a movie you just watch. It is a movie that you feel. You feel the heartache. You feel the pain, the loneliness, and I didn't even know when I first saw the film that Blaze Foley was a real person. I thought it was a narrative feature, work of fiction. And then I found out that he was real.
That's perfect.
And that is sort of what you were kind of going
Yeah,
for,
I hate biopics. I'm allergic to them. I really, the whole deification of the individual, you know, I'm kind of allergic to it, particularly because almost all biopics are about people who are famous, and so the subconscious of that is telling the audience that that person is of value because they're famous. And that's kind of lame to me. That annoys me. And most of the musicians, artists, actors, painters, dancers, you know, that I have met have spent their artistic careers met with absolute indifference, right? And I thought, wouldn't it be Blaze? That's what kind of turned me on about the idea of this movie is I could do a biopic that's about a more realistic hit on the life of an artist, and so I could actually make a movie about creativity. You know, these different wells that creativity comes from. One well is the treehouse. It's squirrels. It's making love. It's chopping carrots in the middle of the night and talking and, you know, making a fire in the morning. And then this other well of like self-destruction, setting yourself on fire. You know, maybe I could be important. Maybe I could be immortal. You know, and both wells create meaningful art. And one creates life, and one is death.
Yeah, you and Josh Hamilton both had more than one reason to be at Sundance in January. For you, it was Juliet Naked, which is also playing here. And if you have not seen Juliet Naked, you've got to see this movie. It is so charming and so funny.
But it's not as charming as 8th grade, which is Josh's. They're both
Josh-
it's a double feature.
Okay, I was going to say, did you see 8th grade? I mean, yeah, how amazing
I
is it?
have to tell you, in all honesty, I saw 8th grade, and for about 2 weeks, I sent Josh Hamilton little video webcasts that I was doing. Hey guys, it's Ethan. I'm here at the ArcLight. I'm a little nervous. I'm doing the thing. It's important to be proud of yourself. I totally love that movie. It was amazing.
But you know, between Juliet Naked, which is this real sort of love triangle, and where you went from directing a film, Blaze, to playing a musician in, you know, sort of a reclusive musician, Juliet Naked, and this is really interesting, like, love triangle going on. Rose Byrne is lovely in the film, and you also had just come off of First Reformed. So, like, you are like on friggin' fire, man. Doing this amazing work in front and behind the camera, working with these amazing directors, and you know, like when you work with someone like Paul Schrader. And that obviously all the times you work with like Linklater. I mean, hello, give it up for Boyhood.
You did it. You did a Q&A for Boyhood right here.
That's this rock my world. I mean, like when you pick up, what things do you sort of pick up from all the different directors you work with here and there when you're making your own film behind the camera?
You know, you can't know. The thing that's wonderful about being an actor is you get to be on set with a lot of different people, and you learn pretty quickly that there's not one way to make a movie. There's not a right way and a wrong way to do it. There is a right way of thinking about it. You know, I've gotten to work, you know, Paweł Pawlikowski, a great Polish director. I've worked with Sidney Lumet, of Alfonso Cuarón, Peter Weir, Jill Dante. I've worked with so many, Antoine Fuqua, all of whom have different styles. Andrew Niccol and Paul Schrader, for example. Andrew Niccol wrote Gattaca, Lord of War. Paul Schrader wrote First Reformed. They're writers. They are great writers. Linklater is a filmmaker. He thinks they all have these different attitudes. You know, Linklater loves to rehearse. Alfonso Cuarón can't stand to rehearse. You know, I mean, Alfonso's about the camera. At least he was when I worked with him. I don't know where he is now, but you know, like and they each have value. You know, they each have their own thing. You can make great movies no matter what. And so Alfonso had this amazing, his eyes, what he sees in color and what color means. I really try to use in this movie. You know, I really tried to oversaturate colors. Each storyline has a different saturation point of color. You know, it's kind of red, blue, and green, right? You know, and it's hopefully extremely subtle, but in the back of your brain, it helps you know where you are. And I learned that from Alfonso. Rick has an absolute love, an obsession with nuance. You know, he's allergic to plot. I hate plot too. But he taught me that if you're allergic to plot, you have to give an audience a different kind of architecture. This movie has this triptych, this past, present, future. It's always dancing. So it gives you a form. It doesn't give you a beginning, middle, and end, which is what most people like.
Right.
You know, but it tricks you into forgetting about it for a little while.
It's more challenging.
Yeah.
Because of that structure.
Well, the thing about a plot, the reason why I don't like it, I did a play with Tom Stoppard once, and he said, you know, the thing about plot is it's a lie. You know, like if you think about Lawrence of Arabia, I don't even remember what happened in here. I remember him standing on the train, and I remember thinking, fuck, that's brilliant. But I don't know if he lives or dies or what happened. Did he fall in love? I don't know. You know, but the plot keeps you going.
Yeah.
Meaning, it's the heart that you really, but we grow up on TV. We want what happens next, what happens next, what happens next. So guess what? You're going to be born, you're going to die. Guess what? But all right, we're going to pretend that we don't know. And you know, but so.
Who's got a question? Because this is extremely entertaining. Yeah. Okay. Since you're in the front row,
You get the microphone.
Hey Ethan, how's it going?
Good.
I grew up watching all your films for a long time.
Thank you.
One of my favorite actors ever. I love the idea that you connected each musical scene with a waitress or a busboy's private moment. And it was so beautiful, and I was like, oh man, that's so fascinating. So I just want to hear about that process. Was that writing or when you were shooting?
You know, thanks. It comes from the whole idea of not wanting to deify one person. That it felt like it would be a big mistake to make a movie about Blaze Foley and say, Blaze Foley's important. We are important. He's important because all of us are important. That's what, you know what I mean? That's what I was trying to get at. And like, Blaze Foley played in these bars and people walked in and out and didn't even notice, right? And so I wanted the camera, I wanted the movie to work like a blues song, right? And I wanted to end with, I'm sorry for your troubles, man, but everybody's got it, right? You know what I mean? That's what I wanted.
That's a great line.
So I was like, so wouldn't it be fun to tell you this huge story and then say, hey, by the way, I got problems too, you know? And I thought that would be fun. So I kind of worked backwards from there and let the camera drift, and hopefully the movie would care as much about Sybil as it does about Blaze. It would notice, you know, the other people in the bar. The film would notice Blaze, the Blazes of the world, even though the world doesn't notice them. See, my hope was you sit there going, why am I watching this waitress? And you slowly go, oh right, because she's of value. You know, she hears the song too, and maybe she's got her own song. Well, I don't know what she's thinking about, but what's his father thinking about? What's, you know, I mean, it was part of the whole idea of the movie.
Yeah. Who's got a question? Yeah, right there. Yes. Wait, the second row.
You get a mic too?
Okay, thank you for doing the Q&A. And
My pleasure.
yeah, and you just said there's no right way to make a movie, but there's a right way to think about a movie.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I read when I was younger, I read an interview with John Cassavetes, and he basically was talking about the idea of there's no such thing as high art or low art. There's art that people put thought into, and there's art where people try to reach their arm around your back and take your wallet out of your back pocket, right? And one kind he likes and one kind he doesn't. And the point is that, like, you can make a vampire movie, and it could be, if you put thought into what's more symbolic than a vampire, you know? If you can put meaning and imbue that with meaning and put thought into it and make it with art, that's an amazing movie. And you can make a Bergman film about our faith, or a movie like First Reformed, and if you don't put thought into it, it's a pretentious piece of dreck. But if you put thought into it and you try to tell a story, then it could. So it's just like, it's your aim, you know, and you can even make a bad movie, meaning a movie people don't like, that has, its aim is true. And that's a value, because we don't get to decide, you know, sometimes you have to fail. And failure has real value. Because if all you're trying to do is pimp things out and make money off things, then what you're going to inevitably do is just repeat what you've seen other people make money off of, right? And so, that's kind of what I mean. Does that make sense? Yeah.
You learn more from your failures than you do from your
Definitely.
successes.
Everybody does that.
Last question, you, yes.
Why Blaze? Like, what did Blaze, how did Blaze touch you? I mean, I've never heard of him before, so how did you get to know who he was?
Well, why Blaze? Most people have not. I hadn't heard of him. Ben Dickey, the lead, taught me about Blaze. 2006, John Prine released Clay Pigeons. Lyle Lovett recorded Election Day. Willie Nelson did If I Could Only Fly. Lucinda Williams wrote a song called Drunken Angel about him. There was kind of mystery around his death, a little bit like Robert Johnson. But I think I answered that. Basically, I mean, why Blaze is that it's a poet of a very high caliber who lived and died unnoticed. And when he says in the thing, I don't want to be a star, I want to be a legend, what he's come to represent to me is all of us who are working really hard that aren't geniuses, and maybe don't find the way in a commercial environment, but we're of value. You know, we have something to say. And he symbolizes that effort to me, you know? And the songs are so good. You know, they're so beautiful. And there's a couple, the one that really struck me when I was first falling in love with his music is, it's very simple. It's a song that he wrote for Sybil when they were breaking up. And he says, it's If I Could Only Fly, and he says, I feel so good, I feel so bad, I wonder what I ought to do, you know? And when I heard that line, I thought, oh man, this guy knows about depression. And that is the most, it's like, you know, Matisse can draw like one line and it's kind of moving, but it seems like a kid could do it. Well, a great country song is the same way. It takes a life to be able to write a line like that. And a lot of his, you know, the eyes of the old meet the eyes of the young, the eyes of the young meet the eyes of the old, what they were thinking I've never been told. You know, wherever I'm going, it's the same place I've been. Ain't it a cold, cold world? You know, it's so beautiful and so simple. And it's hypnotizing to me.
It's totally
Yeah. So, love you guys. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please spread the word about Blaze. Support our after-class project right here.